Hello future doctors, my name is Michael, I'm a first year Thessaloniki medical student, and today I'm going to get you into European medical school. So across my interview series, I've made single videos where I answer single questions. But in research, in preparation for those, I've come across questions where I've got something to say, but not enough content for an entire video. And that's the premise of today. First question, if you could be an X, what would you be? So this is one that I saw a lot on the subreddits, and it's a bunch of questions that all fit the blueprint of if you could be a vegetable, what would you be? If you could be an animal, what would you be? If you could be a fruit, what would you be? If you could be a Harry Potter character, what you could be? If you could be a medical instrument, what would you be? So sort of the way I see it, the point of this question would be to take you unaware, right? It blows you off your feet because it's not something that you prepare for. And then it's also to see how you recover from that and how logical you are. So the way I would approach this is that I would pick a quality that I want to highlight about myself, and then I would pick an animal or fruit or vegetable or whatever that has that quality. And I'd walk my interviewer through logically. And it's a fun exercise, it looks good, and it'll elevate you above other candidates, because this is one that they commonly struggle with. So here's an example. Michael, if you could be a fruit, what would you be? I would be a grape, because just like a single bunch of grapes has multiple grapelets, right? It's got like multiple of those circles make a single bunch of grapes. So every single singular circle grape has to work together to make the entire fruit. I too believe in teamwork, and I work great in team situations, and I believe that when we're multiple people working together, we're a complex system with emergent properties. We can get things better. And that's something that I pride myself on. I think I've got great teamwork and great leadership skills. Boom, you've just blown the interviewer away. This is a question that is meant to confuse you, it's a question that's meant to take you unaware, but you've just answered it masterfully, and this is incredibly powerful. Question 2, explain concept Y to a 5-year-old. And this one comes up particularly often if before medicine you've already got another degree. And here what's very important is not to stress, you've got to actually explain it like to a 5-year-old. So you would walk them through logically, you would start yourself off on first principles, and you would provide analogies, right? That's very important. The third question that I see quite often, tell me about yourself. So this is actually an important one to prepare for. You've got to prepare a couple stories that paint you in a good light. And they come important if they ask you this question, in which case you've got a killer response. But even if not, throughout your interview, you should aim to integrate these stories and these examples of yourself that you've prepared. And they've all got to paint you in a good light. So this is a good one to prep. What are 3 words that describe you? Or what are 3 adjectives that describe you? Now this one I recommend you have a think about. Sort of each of those adjectives should preferably have a reason behind it. And the reason being because when you're in the moment, you're a bit stressed. It's quite hard to think of these things. But now, if you can spit out 3 perfect words that each describe you in an amazing way and that each integrate into your personality, that's a really impressive look. And this is one I see a lot of candidates stumble with. What is your biggest accomplishment? Now, the guiding principle here is do not give something academic. The reason being, unless you're super smart, they've probably seen people that are smarter than you. And so now when you give something academic, right, all of a sudden there's a scale on which they can compare you to other candidates. So if you were to say, like my biggest accomplishment is that I got, a AAA star and a 1A, I did 4 A-level subjects and that was super cool. Well, now you're putting yourself on a scale that they can compare you with, because maybe there's another candidate that did 5 A-level subjects and he got 5 A stars. And so it's very easy for you to lose out here, because it becomes a question of value. Like, does this candidate have more value or does this one have more value? And it's very easy to compare. So stay away from the academics, have a genuine story, something you're actually proud of, and a hobby would give you bonus points, especially if it's like a cool hobby. Maybe like competitively riding unicycles down mountains, right? That's something cool. I mean, of course, don't lie about it. This one comes in multiple forms. It could be who's your role model. If you could have dinner, like what 3 people that are alive would you invite? Who do you look up to? Who's your inspiration? Sort of all questions like this. And this one, the interviewer wants to paint a picture of you based off of the people which you look up to. So my tip here is not to overthink it. You want to choose people that you actually know about, maybe like you've read about them or sort of you consume content with them, because there could be follow-up questions. So the last thing you want to say is sort of, I look up to Leonardo da Vinci because that's a cool name, but you don't actually know anything about it, right? So it's got to be a person that you know a lot about and that you follow, that you can answer follow-up questions on. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, especially if they ask you to choose 3 people that you want to have dinner with, try not to choose 3 people from similar historic times, especially not 3 modern people, because then you look very uncultural. So ideally there would be someone like historic from like long back, and then someone historic from a bit back, and maybe someone alive. Sort of that would be a good mix. I personally, I was asked this question. I can't remember exactly what I said, but one of those people was Emperor Marcus Aurelius, and that's actually someone that I look up to. I plan on naming my first male child Aurelius. And so, future doctors, thank you for following along on this video. If you got any value, then follow along the journey in my medical interview prep series, where I explore questions to get you into medical school.